today we are in conversation with Deena Appadoo, a very young fashion designer and a fashion entrepreneur who runs her own brand, Deena A. Correct, Deena?
That's right, Sandeep.
So, Deena, you took a very interesting plunge at a very young age, right? From a fashion designer to a fashion entrepreneur. How has your personal journey been?
So, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for all the people who have tuned in just to listen to me share my story. So, my journey hasn't been as smooth as other designers. It hasn't been a little girl's dream at all. So, I started my career in management first, with no artistic background whatsoever. And it was only when I started working in a textile company that I discovered that I actually love anything related to textile and especially design. So then I followed a course at the Fashion Design Institute for 2 years. And then I started my own business after a year or so of preparing everything because there's so much background work before officially launching a brand.
So you started as an entrepreneur? I mean, the first place where you worked was for yourself.
So I worked in a textile company, but it was in the management,
Okay.
of a management side. So as a designer, I've never as such worked for another company, but I've done internships right before
Okay. Interesting.
starting my own company. Yeah, and this is the first company that I've started. So
And how many years have you been in execution?
so surprisingly, it's already been 5 years.
Wow. Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent. So what
and it
what will
passed by
be
so quickly.
so what will be your advice to young entrepreneurs who are starting in any domain? Beyond the fashion domain. One thing that I have understood, that entrepreneurship is its own game. It is only when a person is an entrepreneur one realizes what the challenges are and how big the opportunity is, right? And how you fail fast, how you succeed, how you bring learnings from multiple failures into and convert it into a success. What has been your biggest learning that you would like to share with people who may be thinking of the same domain?
So I think that people are always waiting to be ready. And I used to be one of these people. So I spent a year preparing to launch my fashion business, trying to get ready for anything that's going to happen. You're never ready. You just have to start. And while doing it, you're going to learn way more than just preparing for everything. But also, I wasn't ready. I didn't have anyone in my family or in my entourage who was really an entrepreneur. And even if it's just about a fashion brand, there is so many more skills that you have to learn that are not really related to fashion as such. You have marketing, and especially when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be a bit of a jack of all trades. So you have to manage your team, you have to design, you have to do your own accounting, your marketing, the sales, everything. So what I would advise people is to not limit yourself to just be a designer, be an illustrator. Your range of skills shouldn't just be limited to the the main work that you're going to do. You have to have a lot of other skills. And also, I would tell them to do it as a side hustle first. Try to learn. Don't just jump into it like I did, because there are so many mistakes that I could have avoided uh, that I didn't know because I didn't think about all the repercussions and better ways of doing it. So yeah, that's my advice. Just test something before fully launching it.
So, I mean, you mentioned about mistakes, right? And I mean, when you take the plunge, you're bound to make certain mistakes and learn from it. So if, let's say, today where you are with all the learning, if you had to start all over again 5 years back, what would you do differently?
I would have, that's a good question, actually. Uh, I still believe that my mistakes make me the person that I am today, but I would have delegated things a lot more because I don't know if a lot of fellow entrepreneurs can relate with me. It's very difficult to delegate,
That's true.
especially when you're the one who has started everything and has done everything. And delegating is often seen as a lack of control over your
Mm,
business, but it's just giving people who can focus on it much better than you can do. A clear
definitely.
example, uh, I could have focused more on design if I got the right people to just focus on marketing for starters, on sales. And yeah, I think delegating, the mistake that I did, that I'm still doing a bit right now, is not delegating enough. And not, it's not about trusting people. It's just about knowing how exactly you want something. And
Definitely.
you have to be flexible on it. Not everyone is going to do it the way that you want it, but
That's true.
sometimes they're going to do it better than you. And you have to just let them do their thing, improve
Exactly.
themselves. Yeah.
That is the biggest dilemma, especially that young entrepreneurs face, or early stages of entrepreneurship that we feel, is that let's say there may be 10 tasks, and you as an early stage entrepreneur may be doing almost everything, but sometimes
Mm.
you feel that I mean, I may do it at a particular standard. Let's say that standard is 10, and if I delegate, it may not even happen at the standard 6. So you're like, why waste time? Let me just try and find some time and do it. This is a dilemma that a lot of the entrepreneurs face,
Yeah.
especially early on in their entrepreneurial career. And this is a tough one. And how to, as you mentioned, it's not a matter of trust, but it's just a matter of letting go and giving someone the opportunity to do it. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. But how easy or how tough this learning has been for you now? And are you delegating now completely?
I'm not delegating a lot. I started, my team takes care of all the manufacturing. So what I do,
Mhm.
my work is I design, I do what you call the pattern making. I choose a fabric and then I give it to my team to just stitch the
Okay.
garment. Okay.
Okay.
But even stitching is the realization of an idea, right? So
Mhm.
I've with time they have learned. I think it's learning. It's learning how to adapt to the other person when you work in a team, and you have to see it
Absolutely.
as teamwork. You don't have to say just okay. I'm telling you to do it this way. You have to do it my way.
Definitely.
And there have been times where my team have told me, the way that you want us to do it isn't the right way. It's not the fastest way.
Mm.
Can we try something else? And it was difficult because a part of you still want. It's a bit of an ego actually, that you
Definitely.
want to be the person who knows what she's doing. And I think that's the problem a bit with delegation. You maybe a bit afraid that the person doesn't think you know what you're doing, you know
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so I've learned to let go, and they focus on what they're really good at, and I focus on what they're really good at. But with the whole COVID thing going on, I obviously can't invest into a specific person doing
Definitely.
just marketing, just sales. So right now I'm happy that I managed to not master all these skills, of course, but I can
Mhm.
at least manage. And that's why it's very important, I think, still, and I mention it again, to have other skills, because if a team member leaves you, and
Mhm,
that's why I
mhm.
say you don't have to do the work that the team member is doing, but you need to know how to do it. So
Absolutely.
that if they come
Absolutely.
to you for a question, you can still give them a proper answer, give them some guidance. And if ever it's a team, sometimes people leave. So your
Definitely.
business
Definitely.
just stay still. You can still move it and you can still train someone else to do it.
Definitely. I have this huge admiration for all entrepreneurs. Being one, I see what challenges we face on a day-to-day basis. I mean, there are so
Mhm.
many functions. Sometimes, one has to know, have an understanding of every function. Because one has to, wear those shoes at any point of time. Let's say if there's a gap, somebody's on a leave, somebody's not there. Especially when you're young and a young entrepreneur, a smaller early stage organization, you have to fit into those shoes and start doing that operation. And literally you are in a constant state of overcoming challenges. And there's a very interesting analogy that I was sharing with somebody, that you constantly keep facing challenges and you constantly keep achieving successes. And when the number of successes are more than the number of challenges in your business, that means you're ready to scale. That means you're ready for the growth
Yeah.
curve, right? And you're ready for expansion. Now, one very important question. You took this decision, after just 1 year of working, and you became an entrepreneur. You've been an entrepreneur for 5 years. You said you were preparing for it, right? Now, there are two analogies. One says that you cannot learn how to swim by reading books about swimming. You have to jump into the water, and that's the only way you're going to learn.
Mhm.
Something similar is the case of entrepreneurship, like what you did. And but still, you need some level of planning, the financial planning, where the finances are going to come in. What is the team that I'm going to need? Who are the key stakeholders that I will be needing, right? Let's say, I mean, you may be financially independent, or you may depend on certain source of income for your financial well-being, right? How do you how do you take those decisions? What would you suggest? How should people prepare? What is the right information that they should have before getting started?
So I think that anyone, especially in the creative business, they don't realize that maybe you're a good artist, maybe you're a good designer, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be a good entrepreneur. Okay. But if
Absolutely.
being an entrepreneur is what you want, you have to educate yourself on what are the other things that was included in being an entrepreneur. You need to have a lot of self-discipline. I can You say an entrepreneur, so you're your own boss, basically. You think that you can wake up anytime you want. No, you can't. You think that you can take a day off anytime you
Correct.
want. You can't even be sick. Why? Because no one else is going to do your work. It's not like having colleagues. And this was something which was very hard for me to adapt to. And also there are no boundaries to being an entrepreneur. It's not like leaving work and coming back home. I mean, right now it's different because people are working from home. But what I mean is just disconnecting. For me, there's no disconnecting from work. I don't realize I'm working most of the time. I wake up, I check my phone, which is a bad habit for emails, which is I think a lot of people can relate to. You're already starting to work. You
Absolutely.
are looking a simple thing like looking at someone walking down the street wearing something and just telling myself, oh, I like this about her clothes. You're working. So how do you prepare yourself? You educate yourself and you think about every aspect, especially the most realistic ones like finance. So that's why I tell people you need to find a side hustle. Start it as a side hustle so that you don't put all your eggs in a basket. As a young person, I have the advantage of not having a mortgage on a house. I don't have a family to be responsible for. So in a way, I had the freedom to spend my money like I wanted. Of course, I saved up. And the thing while being an entrepreneur is that all your money is going into your business, whether you
Absolutely.
want it or not. It's a choice. It's a hard choice to make, and it's a bad thing that I do actually is when I first started, I didn't take any money for myself. I just
Mhm,
took what
mhm.
remained. you know. And sometimes I do it because you have a salary, you have a duty towards your team, you have to pay them, you have
Definitely.
rent, these are the
Definitely.
costs, you have investment, you have a lot of different things that you don't realize when you're starting. So always leave a big margin when you're calculating how much you're going to spend. And also, one thing I didn't realize is that the initial investment is a lot.
Mm.
Like buying sewing machines, just buying raw materials in general, everything. It's a lot.
Cost.
Whereas if you, because for launching a fashion brand, you can't just do 2 clothes and say, okay, I've launched a few, I'm going to test it. So that's a mistake that I did. I didn't test it. I had to go because there was an opportunity for me to launch a brand. I had to launch without testing the market. And also, I tell people, and I'll say it in my workshop, find your niche market. You can't propose a service, or, well, you can, but it's not very smart to propose a service or a product where there's so much competition already in the market. You be competing against these people. So you have to find a skill, the skill that's going to make the whole difference for you, and then work on that skill and make that skill your main source of income.
Absolutely.
But especially find that special skill that other people don't have. All of us, we have it. We just have to fine tune it, work on it, specialize in it. But before specializing, know what you're good at. Because
Definitely.
loving something, loving fashion, and that was my biggest fear. Because yes, I love fashion, I love design. But the hard question to ask yourself is, are you good at what you love? It's a very hard question to ask yourself. You know, and if
Absolutely.
and how, who do you ask? Who will give you honest opinion about your work? Of course, your family and your friends will want to support you, but you need that person or that group of person who is going to tell you, no, it's not good.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, it's a hard, very, very hard question. Even today, when I do any design that I do, I ask myself, would someone buy it at the price that I'm selling? If I saw this, would I buy it? If the answer is no, then I don't sell it.
Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make
It
sense.
doesn't make sense. You have to believe in what you, it's not just for making money. It's not just for sharing what you're doing. It has to make sense to the person who's buying your service or product.
Definitely. Definitely. No, you need to have a group that can give you that constructive critical input, to your work. A friend of mine was telling me that, whatever, I mean, he's a designer and he takes anything to his mother and must say, wow, my son, you've made such a beautiful design. But at the end of the day, the mother will be the only consumer of that product, and not the market.
Exactly, because they want to support you.
Exactly. So your brand, Deena A, has grown, is being appreciated, is being accepted. I mean, there's a community following you. Tell us something about your brand. What does it stand for? And you mentioned niche. So what is your niche that you found with Deena A?
So my niche is that it wasn't the one I initially launched. That wasn't my main idea. So this is also an important point, and how you have to adapt on what the market is asking you for. It's not always what you think is best. Okay, there's nothing like this in the market, but why why hasn't it worked before, So what I initially wanted to do was more working clothes for a more of a chic aspect, casual chic clothing, for people, yeah, who go to work, who can wear the same dress to go to work or to go shopping, a bit of a polyvalent. But then when I started, I saw that my clients like more of a little tropical vibe because we're in Mauritius. So I started readapting the trends that were on the catwalks and readapted to the climate here. And also, people, they don't just buy the product, they buy the service too. And they actually like being able to contact the designer directly. So I'm very I post a lot. I ask people for their opinion. That's a good thing. That's what social media should be used for
true.
brands. You know, it's not just sharing what you've done. It's asking people, getting the feedback of people. Okay, do you like this? Or why don't you like this? What do you think about this? I'm trying this new technique. And not only do they see how you're doing, they get a personal connection to your brand, because there's a difference between seeing a garment on a clothing hanger and seeing it being done by a local seamstress or choosing the fabric. Then you really understand the whole process behind it.
That's true.
You know, and also sometimes the fact of being young has played against me, but in that case, it has, because people think, millennials especially, I can understand them because I'm the same, more or less the same, you know, and they want to encourage people who are more or less the same age as them to move forward. So they are contributing to the whole movement of shopping local.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's what made a bit a difference for my brand, and that made my brand escalate. Once I understood that, that made my brand escalate pretty quickly in the space of, it didn't take me 5 years. For the last few years, where I was 2 years back, is a long way from where I am today. It just picks up at one point. All the work you've been putting in, you reach the right people. It's also about reaching the right people. It's not because your product didn't work that it means it's not a good product. Maybe you just didn't reach the right people, the right audience for your product or service.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, of course, you're a fashion designer who grew in the Mauritian market. How do you see the entire industry evolve, right? Today, I mean, do you see a fashion industry emerging in Mauritius? Is there any support that you're getting from the authorities? Is there a sort of a community that is helping you grow and develop your brand, or you know, maybe take the brand international? And how do you see the other fashion designers coming up? You know, the overall, you know, ecosystem of fashion in Mauritius? How do you see that?
Yeah, so first, concerning authorities, they are not really investing into fashion design as much as the textile industry. Textile industry people might confuse the two. Textile industry is making designs in bulk for other brands in Mauritius.
Absolutely.
I don't know if a lot of people realize that brands like Topshop, Dorothy Perkins, even Prada, they are made in Mauritius, right? So these are manufacturing. So we push the manufacturing side, but as for design, not as much, because you need to be on a bigger scale, I think, for them to be able to push local design. You need to be able to produce to cater for the demand. So let's say they're investing in you to go abroad, and then you have to get orders. But can you fulfill these orders? That's the question. So I think that what needs to be done is to work hand in hand with textile factories to push the design in Mauritius instead of just the made in Mauritius.
Definitely, definitely.
So that's for authorities. And as for other designers, you know, the thing about fashion is everyone has their own style and everything is subjective. Not everyone sees my clothes as being good or looking good, and I'm fine with it. Maybe some people relate more to another designer's style than mine. Some relate more to mine, but I don't think in terms of competition. I used to think like that. A lot of people, they do think like that, and it's totally normal to think of it like it. But the thing is, what can you do that your audience like, and what kind of risk? I take a lot of risk in my business. Just like I started doing collaborations with influencers. So that came because I realized that I couldn't invest as much time as I could in my marketing strategy. And okay, these are people who got big following. They know how to do marketing. So let me just do this kind of collaboration where you get your own collection and you do the
Definitely.
marketing. So I can
Definitely.
focus on my atelier and I can focus on the design too. You know, so it's a solution it was more of a solution for me than really just a marketing stunt. So this is one of
That's
the
good.
risks that I've taken. But luckily for me, it was well received, and even the media here in Mauritius, they pushed it because it was something new. And
Definitely. Definitely.
I love doing new things. And just like I collaborated with a skincare brand
Mm-hmm.
called Beauté to create a unique headband for them. And this is how I'm trying to diversify my skills by not doing the same things all the time, because people will get bored if you do the same things all the time. They like the unexpected side of what is she going to do next. It's not going to be the same as, because I saw that in my work, just launching collections were not enough. There are so many people making clothes, so many people
Absolutely.
selling clothes, you know. How do you make a difference? You have to do something different. You have to stand out. And that's where these collaborations came in.
Definitely. I personally really appreciate the way you have, collaborated. And this is the way to go for entrepreneurs, with limited budget, with, dreams to scale for, we need to see, who are the like-minded people who we can connect with, and collaborate and create something, 1 + 1 is 11. And this has been your collaboration strategy, the way you've been wonderfully working. Deena, we have one last minute, and my final question to you will be: where do you see the brand Deena A 5 years from now?
I'm hoping to see it not like it is today, because I don't know how I'm going, hopefully escalate it. But all I want is for it to have a bigger impact on people that it has today. And I think that's the most important thing. The
Mhm.
kind of impact that you have, is it inspiring other people? That's great. Of course, growing in terms of sales, of new collaborations, new opportunities, especially, but
Mhm.
definitely not be at the same place where it is today.
Excellent. I wish you the best, and I hope I mean,
Thank you, Sandeep.
5 years from now, when I'm in India, I'm shopping Deena A in probably one of the elite stores in Mumbai,
Well,
and
thank you.
and
So very
that's my
happy to hear.
wish. That's my wish for you. And
Mhm.
you're great at collaborations. We are happy that edVentr has collaborated with Deena A to help people understand, what they need
Mhm.
to follow the same path, or follow their dreams, right? Challenge the status quo. And we're looking forward to your course on edVentr, which is building a fashion business, where you will talk through your journey in more detail in terms of who are the stakeholders, what are the key essential
Yes, more tips too, because so far it's been all about the issues that you can have when starting a business, whereas in the course it's going to be more solution oriented. What kind of solution you can take, what other options you can have, and everything.
Perfect. We have some more time. If you want to quickly share in terms of a brief overview, an elevator pitch on Deena Appadoo's course, building your fashion business on edVentr.
So I think that this course is going to really help people right now, because a lot of us are just feeling overwhelmed. We all did a business plan at the start of the year, which somehow just got ruined because we couldn't predict what's going to happen. So it's a
Definitely.
lot about how to adapt to the current circumstances and create. There are lots of opportunities right now that people are not realizing, and this is where to look for opportunities and how to make the most of what we have right now, and how to build your business even during these times. And I'll be honest with you, so far I've built my business way faster during coronavirus than I did before, by just making up. You don't have to just look for opportunities, you have to create them. And this is
Definitely.
what we're going for. We're going into a more active approach, than before, than just waiting, creating something and waiting for something to happen. Just gonna try and make things happen.
Absolutely.
And
An
I'm just going to help
opportunity,
people.
every challenge is an opportunity. And we look forward to learning that from you in your course on edVentr. So thank you once again, Deena. We enjoyed this
Thank you for the
conversation with you.
opportunity very much. Me too.